us today. She's working on her doctorate as well, and she's got courses that she was required to take, and there was a conflict with this particular meeting, but she'll be able to deliver this presentation in the future. So Meg and I are stepping in and delivering this presentation, but we are just so grateful to her for her knowledge and her expertise and direction. We're gonna jump right in. So Lynette has been a member of the Sanger Unified School District in California. This particular school worked closely with the Dufours and with Solution Tree, and they implemented really with fidelity. I know we don't like that word fidelity, but they really did a lot of work with PLC. So she has a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise, and a lot of resources that's really helping us moving forward as we work to implement PLCs. So these are our outcomes today. They're very few. We're going to give you an overview of the workshop series. This is just not one sit and get kind of workshop. This is a professional learning experience, I will say. We will get a greater understanding of what PLCs today and over the course of the weeks we have together. And there are a number of artifacts we'll ask you to complete along the way, and we'll discuss those as well. So here we are, your SIG team, starting with Meg in the upper right-hand corner and then coming down to Linda. And then Lynette is here on the side, and then coming across, here's Charlie and Courtney. This is Lisa. Y'all, please keep Lisa in your prayers. Lisa was unable to join us today. She has an aunt that is really has not been well in quite some time, and so she's with her family right now, and our prayers go out to her at this time. But you'll see her in the future. She supports specifically McKee Middle School in Montgomery, as well as Rutledge Middle School in Midfield. And there I am. So as we discuss this, this particular experience, I've already shared with you the schedule, and this is just another overview of what we will be doing. So research shows that job-vetted professional learning is what sticks. And if we're trying to change practice at all, professional learning experiences can't be a sit and get, can't be a one and done. They have to be job embedded and ongoing. This particular PLC experience as well has been approved for an ACLD PLU. So as such, there are a number of different activities that are to be completed. I'm just going to go back one slide. I think I went a little too fast. So this is the first session today, and we'll conclude at 2:30. And so the next session is October 23rd. So there are 2 weeks in between. So in between those two sessions on the 9th and the 23rd, your PLCs will meet, and we have pretty much structured your agenda for you. We have artifacts that we would like for you to complete and to upload in between. So then October 23rd is the second session, and then there will be sessions in between. There will actually be a couple of sessions in between, and we're also including a virtual scaffolding workshop. We really want to share some resources, Meg and I, that we have with you. And then the third and final virtual PLC session is November the 13th. And then we'll have work to be done after that, and then you'll submit your final evaluation. And if you've got any questions, just you can put those in the chat or ask along the way or at the end. And so, as I said before, this is not a sit and get. Your coach, your SIG team is going to be available in terms of next steps to provide support and direction, and really just to ensure that all of the information that we've been learning is being implemented as directed. And then your University of Alabama team will have a rubric to measure the degree of implementation of these particular PLC processes that we're putting in place. And we'll share all of this information with you. So now at this point, I'll ask you to debrief the pre-read. I'd like to take some time and just to see what you think about the pre-read. Meg, if you would like to go to the Linowit and go from there and just to share. We are recording this session just so that everyone is aware. We are recording this session. So just looking at the Linowit board here, there's a few takeaways. The blue one of my favorite ideas is that the efficacy can work negatively also. If teachers believe that they cannot influence student achievement, it is a real obstacle. That's a very, very interesting point. Can everybody see this screen? Give me a thumbs up. Can everybody see the Linowit on the screen? Okay, very good, thank you. The green, the sticky, the presence of efficacy in school culture enhances the efforts of educators. That's very true. And then the yellow sticky, I feel that educators can have a positive impact on student achievement if they just believe in the student's ability to be successful despite the student's challenges. That is so true. And I would like to share a couple of the things that I found as well. Collective efficacy has 3 times the effect of parent involvement. It's just amazing. A lot of times we talk about what goes on at home, but really it's educators, it's the adults in the building banding together that really have an impact on student achievement. I saw this too. A group's confidence in its abilities seem to be associated with greater success. So we're going to work together and talk about the different ways that we can build that confidence in each team at your individual schools. How can that be built? We're going to be talking about those things here. Are there any other comments briefly that anyone else would like to share in the pre-read? I was just checking the chat to see. Any other comments from anyone else that they would like to make? All righty, we'll keep moving. I see that Mr. Nelson from McKee has joined us. I'm so glad you're here, Mr. Nelson. Thank you so much for being here. All righty, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. So the first big idea of PLCs is this. We accept learning as the fundamental purpose of our school and therefore are willing to examine all practices with consideration to their impact on learning. So this is just, the statement is just packed. There's a lot here. For me, one of the biggest foundational purposes, one of the biggest big ideas of PLCs is that every school is a learning organization. First and foremost, learning is the fundamental purpose of our school. I know there are many other things that take place in schools, but learning is the fundamental purpose. It's not just really the learning of the students, although that is our primary focus, but we're here to be learners together as the adults in the building. And therefore, we are willing to examine all practices with consideration to their impact on learning. That's so important. We're willing to lay everything on the table. We're willing to ensure that our students are going to learn. We're willing to be transparent and to be honest. The term PLC is often used to describe work that's done in schools, but it's just much more than meeting in a group. It's not a workshop. It's not a book study. It's not a program or a staff meeting. It's something that as educational leaders, we can all control. So if we were to do a word cloud of all the different topics, all the different things a PLC, professional learning community, means, these are some of the words, topics, phrases that would come out. There's a focus on learning, collaboration, it is student focused. There's definitely a commitment on the part of all the adults in the room. The 4 questions, we'll get to those soon. We're all committing to continuous improvement. We're looking at our current reality, not what we thought was going to happen or what we think might happen, but what is actually happening right now. This is a systematic process. It is a best practice. And interdependency, we'll talk more about that as well. So I'm going to talk about the second big idea. I'm going to ask a couple of people to unmute themselves and to read the first, there are 2 different chunks on this next slide. I'm going to ask a couple of people to unmute themselves and to read. So, so be ready, I may be calling on you. So the first person I'm going to call on is Mr. Nelson. I know that you just came in. I hope you're still available. Mr. Nelson, would you please unmute yourself and read this first paragraph? Mr. Nelson may have stepped away. Dr. Cruz, would you please unmute yourself and read this first paragraph, please?
Yes, ma'am. We are committed to working together to achieve our collective purpose. We will cultivate a collaborative culture through the development of high-performing teams.
Thank you so much. There's so much meat there. We are committed to working together. We're not working in isolation anymore. We are committed to working together, and our collective purpose is not something that one of us decides is our purpose, but it's something that we decide together as a collective, and we will cultivate a collaborative culture. Collaborating means again, we are working together through the development of high-performing teams, and that's what we're here for, is to develop those high-performing teams. Mr. Nelson, I think you're with us now.
Yes, I was muted and Meg unmuted me.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So I was trying to answer, but I couldn't.
It was all my fault.
I was trying to answer, I was just talking away and I tried, so it wouldn't.
Oh, goodness.
I was scared to let him go, so I muted him.
Well, Mr. Nelson, would you read this second paragraph, please?
Oh, sure. In our teams, our people working interdependently to achieve common goals and are mutually accountable for reaching them.
All right, thank you. That word interdependently is just key. Again, we're not working in isolation, but we've got goals that we've developed together that are common, and we are working together to reach those. Thank you all so much. And the rest of you all be ready. I may call on you next. So again, it's no longer just close my door and let me teach. Your team is working together interdependently. Maybe dependently is maybe when you're first coming into the profession, or maybe in your pre-service, you're really dependent on other people to a large degree. And then you get to the point where you're independent. Maybe you have your own classroom, you have your own set of keys, you're there yourself, you're doing your own thing. But the name of this PLU is called Better Together. Working interdependently means that we are committed to the fact that although we're all fabulous independently, we are better together. So here are some possible team structures focused on student learning. I'm going to ask Miss Alexander from Rutledge, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and letting us know what kinds of structures you have at your school. What kind of teams meet at your school? I know Rutledge Middle School is a middle school, but it's a little bit different from the other middle schools we have. There are grades 5 through 8 at this school. Miss Alexander?
Yes, ma'am. So yeah, so you're asking what kind of teams do we have, or?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, like you said, we have, we started at grade 5, which is unusual here right in our area, because I think we're pretty much the only middle school that has that 5th grade cohort with us. But as far as we meet vertical, I see some of the terms you already have up there. And we also meet grade level, and that's very important, but we try to meet also with the elementary, just to get that, to track that data. We try to meet leadership team across, as far as we have somebody that's the grade chair that goes back and share information that we come together in the leadership team and decide on. So we pretty much have a lot of structure here in the school, because we want everyone to be a part of the decision making that we're doing here.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Miss Alexander. There are a variety of teams that can meet. You may have department teams, perhaps by subject, particularly if you're a high school. You know, your career tech team, that might be a team, and your science department, those kinds of teams. But regardless of whether you're middle or high school, please ensure that your special education teachers are able to meet with the different teams and also to meet together. That's really super important. And you've got problem solving teams as well. There's just a wide variety of teams. Exactly. Thank you, Miss Alexander. So big idea number 3, we talked a little bit about the 4 questions. There are 4 big questions here, and they're going to fly in one by one. And Mr. Furl from MGM, if you would please, as a fly-in, if you would please read these.
He was having some computer problems. I got a text in the chat. I'm not sure if he'll be able to.
Okay. Well, Meg, will you step in for him? Will you go ahead and read these 4 as they come in?
Be glad to. What do we want students to know? How will we know when they know it? What do we do if they don't know it? And I think an important one that gets lost sometimes, what do we do if they do know it?
Absolutely. So as we're talking about that first one, what do we want students to know? Those are those critical standards. You know, where no one expected to be an administrator or a teacher during a pandemic. These are just crazy times, and it's just really hard to teach everything and to do everything. So it's really been important to lift up those critical standards and use those over and above everything at this time. So what do we want students to know? Those are our critical standards. How will we know when they know it? That's assessment. So that's your formative assessment. If that's your interim assessments or your benchmark assessments, your summative assessments, that's how we know. And we'll talk later on about developing common formative assessments. What do we do if they don't know it? That's when intervention comes in. We have problem solving teams. Those take place at the department or the grade level, and they also will be school level as well. And what do we do if they do know it? As Meg mentioned, oftentimes this is a question that doesn't get answered. That's where we're enriching, and that might have come up particularly now during this pandemic when we've got so many students working remotely. They may have already mastered some content, and what do we do when they do know it? How do we handle that? So one of the first artifacts that you will upload is just a schedule of who meets when and where. So that's one of the first things we'll need to know. And it could be just very simply, I'm thinking about Tipton. I know that they meet according to, I think, subject. So maybe it could be the language arts vertical team might meet on Friday afternoons at 2 o'clock. And maybe the math team meets on Mondays at 10 a.m. So literally just a schedule of who meets when and where. It might be in a certain person's classroom every time, or it might rotate. The second artifact is this one, and it's called Guiding the Work of PLCs. This is what the form looks like, and that can be printed and can be completed together with your team. And it's also available as a Google form as well, but we'll talk a little bit more about those. But it's so important that once you've established the structure for your PLC, that you actually make time for them to meet. No more should it be, well, we don't have anything to talk about, we're just not gonna meet anymore. That should never be an option. Your PLC should always, always, always meet. There's always something to talk about. When you refer back to those 4 questions, we're always looking at student work, always referring back to data, always referring back to those critical standards, developing units. Prioritize the work of your PLCs. We're going to take a little bit of a break here. Meg will drop this particular link in the chat, but we need an opportunity for everyone to tell us that you're here. And we've heard from every single school, but especially for those who would like to take this for an ACLD PLU, we need to ensure that your attendance is recorded every time. So please take your phone. If you have a QR scanner, or if you've got an iPhone, just go to the, like you're taking a picture and you scan this code, it'll take you right to the attendance form. Or if you'll go to this particular link, it's also in the chat. Thank you, Meg. Take a couple minutes and fill this out. We just need to know who's here. Again, for the purposes of the ACLD PLU, we need to know who's here. We're going to take just a minute to allow you to take attendance before we move forward. And as we're taking this break, I want to see if anybody's got any questions up to this point, any concerns. Let me look at the chat. Because I know that some folks have had some audio difficulties. I do apologize for that. This technology is wonderful when it works.
Karen, this is Courtney. I just wanted to add that when you create that schedule for your PLCs, if you meet virtually, it would be great if you would include your Zoom link.
Thank you for the reminder, Courtney. We really need to have that Zoom link. We do want to come and visit your PLC meetings. If it's possible for us to meet face-to-face, we will do that. But if you are planning to hold those meetings virtually, please include the link as you're submitting your schedule. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Dr. Anderson, I will put that link in periodically, but I do believe it's at the end of the in the PDF and the presentation as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know that internet is sometimes sometimes it's working well, and sometimes we don't have great connections. I think some folks might have been dropped or been disconnected somehow, but we're glad everybody's here. Ms. McNeely, I know you've had some problems getting in too. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Okay, we will move forward. So
Thank
Norm,
you, Dr. Anderson. I
great.
can hear everything now. I'm good.
Okay, wonderful. I'm so glad you're with us. Thanks, Ms. McNeely. So in terms of norms, some of you participated in the Transformation Academy some time back, and we spent a lot of time talking about norms. So each team should really create your own norms or your expectations for behavior during your meetings. They're really stated as commitments to act in certain ways. So a few key norms are better than a great big old long list. They're easier to remember and they're easier to adhere to. And if team norms are not adhered to, the violations of those norms will be addressed as well. So now we're going to have a little bit of an activity where we're talking about your pet peeves. So I think many people are pretty Zoom savvy at this time. So if you hover, and Meg's gonna help me know where everything is. If you hover, for me, it's at the top of my screen. There is an area that says annotate. And if you click on annotate, you've got several different options. I'd like for you to consider using the text box. So if you click on text, and then if you click somewhere on the screen, a little text box comes up. And I'd like for you to just type in a pet peeve that you have about meetings.
The directions are in the chat. You go to the view options, annotate, and then annotate and choose text and type in your replies. So again, the instructions are in the chat.
And if someone types something that you agree with, you could use a stamp. Ooh, I love that one. Meetings do not start on time. I love that one. If there's something that you agree with, you can take a stamp, maybe a star or a heart, and you can just put a stamp on one that you agree with. Ooh, off-topic conversations. I like that too. Just take a couple more minutes. No agenda. Oh my goodness. How can you even get started if you don't know where you're going? You got to begin with the end in mind. That's so true. You've got to have an agenda. Non-stop cell phone activity. I agree with that. Now, there are some times when you'll be asked to use your phone when you're participating, you know, for example, to take a poll or something like that. We'll just take another minute to kind of get your feedback. Ooh, negative mindset. That's a good one. It's so important that we begin all of our meetings in a positive place. And I know it might have been a class before that might have gotten out of hand, or it might have been a tough week or a tough weekend before that, but it's just so important that we begin with a positive mindset. Awesome. Thank you so much. Sending for people. That's a good one too. I like that one. Not focused. That's the same idea as not having an agenda. That's true. Okay, so Meg, you're gonna help me clear this out. I always need help clearing this out. Oh, I think I can. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Meg. You were awesome. Okay, trying to get back to my presentation. I think I have to cut mine off.
Go to the black box and click the X if you feel like you're still stuck in it.
Got it. Thank you. So this is another artifact we'll ask you to submit, is what your norms are. We heard a lot of feedback about time, not starting on time. So it's so important to establish a norm, and that you express those norms in a positive way. Instead of don't come to meetings late, it's important to be positive. We will arrive on time. Listening, how will we encourage listening? Confidentiality, decision-making, these are all a variety of areas to consider as you're developing norms. Meg and I were talking about one, again, that came from the Transformation Academy, that I would encourage everyone to adopt, is that you trust the process. This might be new for some folks, or it might be a refresher, but please just know that everything that we're bringing forth has really, there's really a lot of evidence behind it. I didn't really speak specifically about Hattie's work, but he's got a list of evidence-based practices, and collective efficacy is at the very top of his list in terms of the impact on student achievement. When the adults in the room all believe in their collective ability to impact student achievement, it happens. So it's just so important. Participation and expectations, but it's very important to trust the process. In terms of roles, this is another artifact. We just need to know what roles you'll have in your PLCs. I would encourage you to have at least the top 4. There's a facilitator role here, recorder, timekeeper, process observer, data manager, engaged participant. That's everybody. That really kind of goes without saying. Depending on how many people you have on your PLCs, depending on how many people you have on your teams, one person might have to assume more than one role. However, I would encourage you to not sacrifice the process observer role. That's the person whose role it is to kind of sit back and see how well the team is adhering to the norms. It'll help you feel much more effective if you have someone whose job it is to say, well, we've got 4 members of our team and 3 out of 4 were on time. Let's strive for 4 out of 4 next time. It's an observer. It's not really casting blame. It's an encouraging role as well, but it's really a person who's designed to make sure everything stays on track. The timekeeper, obviously, we want to be sure that we start and end on time and that someone is cognizant of keeping things moving. That's the facilitator, keeping things on track, and the recorder, we need to have someone taking notes. Collective commitments, when teams are engaged in true collaboration issues that impact student learning, research shows a strong link with school improvement. This really could have come directly from the article. So again, it's that interdependence, that we are better together. And there are some examples here on the screen. And again, Meg has already PDF'd this presentation, and we will share this with you, and we can share the recording as well, especially for those who might not have been able to make it with us today. But one of the examples is the one at the bottom. We will continually look for ways to help all students achieve success. That goes right to the opposite of that negative mindset. Walking in, we will continually look for ways to help all students achieve success. All students, not some, but all. So here, if there are any ideas for collective commitments you would like to have for your school, let's do what we did before and annotate the screen here. You can just type in, or if someone already has shared something that you agree with, you can stamp it with a particular stamp. But is there a certain commitment you would like to see at your school? Let's take a couple of minutes and let's annotate. Okay. Desire to continue to learn. High expectations. Oh, I love that one. Meg, that is especially important. Honesty in discussions. I know in previous SIG cohorts, we called it a culture of candor. It's so important that we commit to being honest. The discussions are really in our students' best interest. It's so important that we just check our egos at the door. That's so important. Growth, I love that one. Student growth and our personal growth as well. Be committed to the process and be willing to make adjustments as needed. I love that one. Open to change. These are all wonderful. Just another minute. All righty, we're going to move on. So what happens during PLCs? There's an agenda, there's certain protocols that are followed. I remember one of the pet peeves that Carol shared earlier is that there's no agenda. There's got to be an agenda during a PLC meeting. There are roles. The focus is not just on student learning, but also on instructional practices. And we are ensuring that we're sharing information. I know that sometimes we will get together and meet and, maybe we would share issues that we really could talk about via email. PLC meetings are really focused on those 4 questions, remember. Those critical standards, what do we want students to know? How do we know when they've learned it? What do we do when they don't know it? What do we do when they do? Those are the conversations that occur during PLCs. We're going to talk about those a lot. And it's really important to come to consensus. Consensus doesn't mean that everybody is always going to agree. Building teams that can come to consensus and collaborate around important work, that's essential to the entire PLC process. We're not going to be able to move forward if we cannot come to consensus. So here are some common mistakes that are often made when building consensus. We cannot allow cynics and skeptics to dominate. There was a previous mention of negative mindsets. We cannot allow those types of comments to dominate the conversation. Pooling opinions rather than building shared knowledge, instead of just saying, okay, well, you feel this way and you feel that way, we're going to try to synthesize what we all believe in together. So building shared knowledge, that's a synthesis. We're going to take a little bit of what Charlie is interested in and a little bit of what Brittany wants to do. We're going to pool everything together. We're going to pool opinions. There are some times where we can get lost in the weeds. So if we spend too much time building consensus on details, maybe we want to, maybe we're planning on, I don't know, I'm just making this up. Maybe we're getting different kinds of Promethean boards for our classrooms, and the principal has asked for teacher feedback on that. We don't want to get bogged down in the color. That's something that's getting in the weeds. We don't need to kind of build consensus around that. We really need to talk about the research. What are we going to use them for? What's going to give us the most bang for our buck? So as we're building consensus, be sure to talk about the pros and cons. That's going to help everybody feel heard. That's what's most important. Sometimes you might need to take a vote. And here's a continuum. Here's a continuum of consensus. There are times when there are topics that everybody can embrace. And there are other times, well, maybe everybody's not going to say yes, that we actually embrace it, but I can get on board behind it, or I can live with it. Sometimes there are topics that are really pretty contentious. and I just promise not to sabotage them. And then other times it's just going to come down to, well, the majority is going to rule. And I'm comfortable with the fact that the majority is going to rule. It could be, for example, we're planning a unit, a particular unit. Maybe we're all 6th grade teachers, and we're all planning a particular unit, and we want the sequence to go a certain way. And there's a lot of disagreement about the sequencing of the pacing or the sequencing of the units that are going to be addressed. And at the bottom line, okay, we're just going to let the majority rule, and we're just going to go from there.
Dr. Anderson, one of the
Yes.
things too that came out in the readings and the prep was with this continuum, or some people use a fist to 5, always let the 2 and below at least voice their concern. There's another side, not a rough shot or not say we're not listening. Let them voice for 2 and below what it is that is their concern.
That is so important. Thank you, Meg. Just making sure everybody is heard. That's really one of the most important parts of PLCs, because it's a community. It's not Karen's team. It's a community where everybody has equal say, and we all have to come to consensus together. That's so important, making sure everybody feels heard. But there will be resistors. There will be people who will kind of dig their feet in and just refuse to move. So, but please just assume good intentions with that particular person and just try to understand them and try to persuade them. Focus on their behavior, trying to change the behavior and not their attitude. And really, attitude refers to a person's opinion or a feeling regarding someone or something. But behavior is that person's action. So we're going to focus on the action. So just as an example, I was a principal of an elementary school years ago, and we earned an art grant from the state. And I had to take a team of people with me to Montgomery for training. And I had one particular 2nd grade teacher who really did not want to go. She said, Karen, I could be sitting on my front porch sipping on lemonade right now. I don't know what. This is just ridiculous. This is pointless. I don't know why we're doing this. And she just absolutely refused to go. But we carpooled together every day for a week. And by the end of the week, she was the biggest proponent of Reader's Theater that you had seen anywhere. We just over time, as she saw the benefit, as she saw she really didn't have to change a lot of what she was doing, her behavior really did change over time. And when her behavior changed, her attitude did too. So here's another artifact to complete that has to do with building consensus. So this is, again, one that you can print out and complete as a team and then upload. So now we're going to let the rubber meet the road here. And I'll ask for Meg, could we hold this poll off for a moment?
Sure.
I don't know, the poll is going right now. I don't know what I did, I'm sorry. I'm gonna end this polling right here, and we're gonna take it again in a moment. I don't know what I did, I apologize. Okay, I'm going to call on a few people to read. So if, let's see, Ms. Franklin could get ready to read. Ms. Howard could get ready to read. And let's see, Ms. Brower could get ready to read. I don't know if I'm missing some people. But here are 3 people. I'm going to call on you in just a minute. So we're going to shift from teacher meetings to PLCs. So these are going to fly in one by one. So, and when you read them, if you have any feedback on these, I'm just going to ask you to react to those. So teacher meetings are informal, but PLCs are formal and structured, meaning they have an agenda. There's a protocol. There's a way to do PLCs. We're not just getting together and meeting. So that's the difference. Ms. Franklin, are you ready for the next one?
Yes. Okay, under teacher meetings, focus on teaching. PLCs, focus on learning. And to elaborate, I guess I would just say the differences in PLCs with the focus on learning is that you're all coming together trying to establish one common goal, something that everyone could learn from. When you focus on teaching, I guess that's just more in your classroom, although you should be teaching in isolation, but that's the difference in the two. The PLC is everyone working together to establish one common goal for the whole school.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. While I've got you here, go ahead and read this next one also.
Okay. Teacher meetings may or may not be related to a goal. That's true. And your PLC should target SMART goals based on the standards.
Thank you very much. We're going to talk a little bit more about SMART goals, but teacher meetings, you could just kind of get together to take up field trip money. They might have a particular focus and they may not. Thank you so much, Ms. Franklin. Ms. Howard, you're on deck to read the next. Are you ready? Here we go.
Teacher meetings are not consistent, no consistent tracking of progress. PLCs measures and tracks progress.
And let me let you read one more, Ms. Howard. And if you have any feedback, if you want to share anything about those.
Everyone leaves at around 12:30 on Friday. This is assistant principal. I'm the only one that's here from 12:30 to 3.
Committed to improvement. And I guess it goes along with measuring and tracking progress with going along with the goals. You have a goal in mind when you're working with PLCs. Teacher meetings, like you said, could be informal and just about anything.
That is an issue.
Whereas a PLC,
do me this favor. Because she's the only one that can do that call back on
Mr.
Monday.
Morris,
and
Mr. Morris, I'm glad you're with us. If you unmute yourself.
Say it again. I'm sorry, I was on the phone. Say it again.
Just wanted to welcome you and ask you to mute yourself. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you, Mr. Morris.
All right.
And thank you, Ms. Howard, for reading those. Teacher meetings, we might just hope that things get better, but hope is not a strategy. We need to make actual plans and commit to improvement and execute those plans. Ms. Brower, if you could read the next couple for me. Here we go. Here's the next one.
in teacher meetings, they answer from experience, and in PLCs, they answer from experience and research.
Mm-hmm. And there's one more.
And then conversations around process and activities for the teacher meeting. And then conversations are around the 4 key questions, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Video's cutting off.
That's it. That's it. Thank you so much. So again, our conversations are around those 4 key questions. And by the time we're finished with all of our readings, you will all know these by heart. What do we want students to know? How do we know that they know it? What do we do when they don't know it? We're going to intervene. What do we do when they do know it? We enrich. So that's the difference between teacher meetings and PLCs. So now go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the main thing is obviously someone there to help keep teachers on track and keep them focused. Because teacher meetings kind of veer off to the side sometimes in the PLC. You want to stay committed to those, the data that you're looking at, whatever benchmarks you want to achieve, and obviously those key questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is just so, so true. So now we've got a poll ready for you, and we want you to be completely honest. That was some of the feedback that we received earlier about PLC meetings. We need to have that culture of candor. We'd like for everybody to please just vote. Thank you, Meg. The poll should be on your screen right now. Be honest. What do you have at your school? You see the difference between teacher meetings and PLCs. Tell us which one you have at your school. Do you have teacher meetings or do you have PLCs? We've got about 27 people on the call today, and not quite half of you have voted. We'll give you a little more time. It's only been about 40 seconds so far. Still have a little more time. Waiting for about 8 people to vote. Just a few more seconds, we might have gotten everybody. Okay, I will stop the polling. Okay, can everybody see the results?
Yes, we can see them.
Great. So, it looks like we had 20 out of the 27 people on the line vote, and 13 out of that 27, just about 65%, say that they really do have PLCs in place. And then 7 mentioned that they do have teacher meetings in place. So this is very good information. That is awesome. That's going to help us moving forward. So now we're just going to review what we've gone over so far. We've talked about how to organize your staff into PLCs. So again, they could be, vertical teams, department meetings, grade level meetings. We've talked a little bit about that and about how to create norms and roles and the importance of those. Reasons for and examples of collective commitments. We know what happens during a PLC. We're talking about those 4 questions. The importance of building consensus and responding to resistors, and the need and the process of shifting from teacher meetings to PLCs. There any questions about anything at this time? We still got a few more things to talk about. But any questions about any of these areas? Anything unclear? I'm not looking at the chat, Meg. I don't know if there's anything in the chat.
No, ma'am.
All righty, moving on. This is another artifact that we will ask you to complete. There is a professional learning community performance rubric from the pre-initiation stage to the sustaining stage. There are several pages to this particular rubric, and we're just going to ask you to do the first page together at your PLC meeting, just to kind of ascertain where everybody is. This is something else that you will upload and share with us. And these are the last 2 artifacts that you would submit together. Artifact 1.7 and 1.8. The 1.7 just talks about effective communication, which is so important, again, as we're talking about building consensus. So important to have clear communication. And then that collaborative culture, just changing the culture. So these are indicators of PLCs. So you'll complete this. What steps or activities need to be initiated to create this condition in your school, or if it's already there, you can maybe talk about what you've done or that this already has been done. Who's responsible? It's so important to say who's responsible so that we can work together for accountability. And again, accountability is not this awful word that should make anybody nervous. Accountability is responsibility. It's somebody's responsibility. It's really our responsibility as a PLC to ensure things happen. But we're holding each other accountable. We're holding each other responsible. The timeline is so important, and how you will know that what you've begun is effective. That's so important. So I want to turn things over to Meg, because we've got a system for storing all of your artifacts and retrieving them and sharing them. And Meg is going to share with us at this time.
Okay, guys, I'm going to take this picture off, but I want you to know that the QR code will lead you to where we're going to look at here momentarily, as does the link, which is in PDF in the handout, which we're going to see in a minute, and it's also in the chat. So you have lots of ways to get there, and I will put it in the chat yet again, but I'm going to go ahead and take you to the actual site. And it takes a minute to load, but can everybody see it?
Yes, I can see.
Yes.
Okay, we have, and I may do a little commercial for this whole folder because we have so many wonderful resources, but this particular one that's being shared with you is in, of course, Office of School Improvement, and they're the PLC resources. And a lot of these are shortcuts to what Courtney's already taken tons of time and worked on for the University of Alabama. One of the things that we did here in this drive, which again, you have the link in the QR code, is we renamed them so they would match up with what you needed in your artifact, in your group artifacts. So the references should be within this folder. Questions about where it takes you to, what you've got. This is the overall folder. If you were happen somehow to land here, and then you would want to look at the PLC resources that have been handed out. And at the top, it says Artifacts Session 1. And when you go in here, if you will notice, 1.1 was just your schedule. So it's not in here for you to copy. These are all PDFs. And let me tell you something about this being PDFs. This is not, you don't do the work twice. These are guiding documents if you would like to print them out during your sessions as a guide. But this information will be uploaded into a Google form. And the Google form will be in here as well. I linked to that form. And that's where the data will really be collected. So I was a little, I'll be honest, at the beginning, I was a little confused about, this looks like this is going to be a lot of information, and it seemed like double the work. It's because I was looking at it incorrectly. Where you're going to have information in the PLC folder, and then in the PLC folder, there is the Session 1 artifacts, and they are numbered the same way in which they were referred in the handout. Does that make a little more sense now? And then the information itself will be submitted in a Google form. Courtney, you have anything you want to add to that?
I'll just add that for some of these artifacts, you'll physically type the answers into the form, which is why we're giving you this PDF first, because I'm a very visual person and I would want to write all over the paper and get my answers laid out before I typed it in. And then some of these, for the sake of how nice the form has already been developed, you will just fill out the form and then upload your own version of it into the Google form. So you'll do the worksheet and then it'll just be a file upload instead of answering it on the Google form.
So it's kind of a combination of the two, but you'll really be given the information once. The others will act as a guide if they're not the documents to be uploaded. And I think it'll be really clear when you get in and start looking at what the documents are. So that's the link to the Google Drive. Some of the things that will be coming up, we have some of the HES tools in here. We have something that talks, I think this is the actual form. If you wanted to take a look at it early on, you can come in and see how this is asked. To her point, when we said 1-1 was your schedule, here's a place where you will add your schedule. Is that still showing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, sometimes when you move things and I didn't see my little box around it. So this is the concept, or this is what the form looks like. And that's why you might want to have some of the information already answered, like your systems. You might not want to just stop at that moment and answer all of that. So again, and a lot of this had to do with getting an ALSDE-PLU. We just take those initials to the nth degree. There were certain activities and expectations that come along with that level of credit in continuing education. So that's where it is. You have all the documents listed for session 1. You have additional documents like the pre-read was here. This piece right here, PD session 1 that says PDF, that is the entire handout of what has gone on in the session today. This gives you a concept of the scope and sequence. So instead of sending you a million different things attached to your emails and filling up your email box, as long as you've got the Google link or the QR code, you are good to go and everything you need is in here.
Meg, would you mind showing just one of those HES crosswalks?
Sure, this one's labeled number 1, so we can go with this one.
If you can
Is that
make it
showing
just, it is showing up. If you can make it a tiny, if you can enlarge it a little bit.
That's what I was
People
trying to
can-
do, but it doesn't seem to want to cooperate with my
Okay.
efforts to
Maybe
do
you
that.
can just, read what goes along each side. Because we found this to be really powerful.
It's the blooms, which is the remember, I'm on the left-hand side of the paper, going down the column is the revised blooms of remember, understand, apply, analysis, and evaluate. Then it moves over to the correlation with Webb's DOK level 1 in the next column. Then the third column is DOK level 2, skills and concepts. Then is the fourth column is DOK level 3, the strategic thinking and reasoning. And the last one is the Webb's DOK level 4, extended thinking. So you have a crosswalk of the dimensions, and well, it says at the top, the Webb's depth of knowledge levels to Bloom's cognitive processes. So you're able to put that all together using these documents. This particular one, 2.1, is for reading. I think you'll find the second tool is for math and science. So as you go through them, I think there were several of them, because as they went into the different fine arts and world languages, they are still called 5, but they're broken down into different subject matter crosswalks.
CTE as well. We just found these to be just super powerful. Just a crosswalk between DOK and Bloom's, and just what this actually looks like for all the different subject areas.
So if you're looking at this page, you have the pre-read today, the continuum that was in the document that we worked off today, the PowerPoint. You have the Spanish version of the HES tool. You have the PDF of session 1, the scope and sequence for the awarding of the ACLU. Good grief. Y'all know what I mean. It's Friday.
ALSDE-PLU.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just not coming out right. And that's a indication of what the form will look like. There's the sign-in sheet today. So if you didn't get to it, or there it is, we'll be tracking that. And then there are the HES tools. And at the top of the page are all the artifacts that you can use to either upload or to fill out the form. Questions? And kudos to Courtney for all her hard work to keep us focused and to be able to have these tools for you.
Awesome. I've got just a couple more slides. I'm going to share my screen and just kind of finish things on up. So as the evaluation team from the University of Alabama comes to your school, they will use this particular rubric. And there's an example of this in the folder as well, in terms of a variety of areas: norms, preparing your agenda, participating in goal setting. This is just part of it here. But there is a rubric for you to see ahead of time. So once we get going and once we get things established, your PLCs are meeting, you'll see what they're going to be looking for. And the range is from not yet to progressing to proficient and advanced. And as they observe your PLCs, either virtually via the Zoom link that you will send, or in person if they're able to come and share and observe that way, they will be providing some feedback to the principal that the principal can then turn around and share with that PLC, just that, you know, things are going great, or things just need to be tweaked or adjusted, but some very concrete feedback that can be used to really help ensure the PLC is meeting in an optimal kind of way. So we are going to end with some inspiration. Cross our fingers and our toes. Let's see if this works.
I think we all need a pep talk.
Can everybody hear?
Yes.
The world needs to stop being boring. Yeah, you. Boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're gooder than that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. Well, it is a cereal. And if life is a game, aren't we on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team, be on my team. This is life, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. Two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, thorns, and glass. My plants broke. Wah! Not cool, Robert Frost. But what if there really were two paths? I want to be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude Journey said, don't stop believing, unless you dream stupid. Then you should get a better dream. I think that's how it goes. Get a better dream and keep going. Keep going, keep going, and keep going. What if Michael Jordan had quit? Well, he did quit. No, he retired. Yeah, that's he retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He would have never made Space Jam. And I love Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. But I do know this. It's everybody's duty to give the world a reason to dance. So get to it. You've just been pep talked. Create something that will make the world awesome. Play ball.
So we've come to the end of our very first session. I'd like for you all to unmute yourselves and just see if there are any questions or comments or concerns moving forward. So again, between now and the next session, October 23rd, there are several artifacts to be completed and uploaded. For those who are choosing to complete the PLU, we need to have at least one set from each school Are there any questions, any comments, any concerns?
Dr. Anderson, while you're doing that, you might, if you would like to switch to the next slide that gives the PLU information.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I apologize for not having this sooner. I know several of you have asked for it, and here it is. So if you are planning to participate for a PLU, the ACLD PLU, there's the course title, PLU ACLD 874. It's called #Better Together, Implementing Effective PLCs. There's the course number 257912 and the section number, and those are the dates that we will be meeting. And for those who will participate for the contact hours or non-PLU ACLD, there's the course number. It's got the same title, #Better Together, Implementing Effective PLCs. Course number is 256313. 3 different sections, and each different section has that number because for every section that you attend, you'll receive those hours.
Confirm as usual.
Any questions?
Right, let me see. Okay.
That is in the PDF copy as well. So instead of just, if you don't want to jot it all down right now, and if you go back to the Google Drive, this sheet will be in there. And also the next sheet on the next slide, Dr. Anderson, also has all the links. I'm sorry, it's the one after that.
The one after this has all the links that we have, but I do want to, well, we can leave it here because the evaluation is here. So you've got a link to the pre-read, a link to the Linowit if you want to look at all the sticky notes. The Google Drive is here. And in case you like that video, I love the kid president. He's pretty awesome himself, as he encourages us to be awesome. But we do crave your feedback. If there is anything about this presentation that you would like to give us feedback about, we really would appreciate having that via the evaluation. Or as we've asked you all to unmute, are there any comments or questions or concerns
Breaks
at this time?
Sure, drinking a bottle of water. So
there's so much silence. I'm not accustomed to everybody being so quiet. All right, Meg, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
There was a question asked about to simply upload the artifacts into the Google Drive. No, ma'am, not exactly. If, as you look for those things in one, if you will look at the form and see what needs to be answered in the form, and if there's anything to be uploaded, that will be listed in the question itself. So some things are to be uploaded and some things are to be filled in that form. So you'll need to, as you're working along, like we went to the schedule, there's not a place to really fill that in, so you'll upload that. If you're maybe meeting by grade level, that might be an answer and there's nothing to upload. So there'll be questions, some will be uploads, some will be answering in the Google form. And we're always here for questions.
Any questions about anything else?
Hey, Dr. Anderson.
Yes.
We have a member on our team that does not have the ability to do the QR reader. How can we do the evaluation?
Can you put it up again so that we can take a picture again?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. So you have to download it on your.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I didn't think about the link.
The link. The link's what he needs, right?
There it is. Just tap
Right
on that
here.
now.
Right.
You don't have to click, you don't take a picture.
Yes.
Tap on that.
Oh,
No.
No.
Tap on that popped up. Yeah.
Some phones, you just use your picture. Just take a photo
You don't have to take the photo, you just hold it up to it and it opens
Yeah.
the link.
Because I know with my phone, I have an Android and I had to download a QR reader app in order to scan.
Yes, ma'am, we got it. Thank y'all.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, just wanted to see your smiling faces. Really, really appreciate you. We'll be reaching out to you to follow up. Thank you so much for everything. You all have a wonderful afternoon.
We can hang
Thank
around
you.
for a few minutes if you've got any questions.
If you do not have any questions, you're welcome to disconnect. If you do, please hang on and ask. Thanks
And
so
we
much.
will
Have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend. I'm sorry, Meg, go ahead.
We'll save the chat for some questions that are popping in at the end and answer you guys individually, because I'm sure you have to go.
Dr. Anderson,
Yes, ma'am.
maybe once I start navigating through to kind of look at the different assignments, I may come up with some questions or have questions, and then I reach out. And as of right now, I don't have any questions.
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, how you
Is
doing,
there a
Dr.
link that we can click for the eval? The QR is not working for me.
Type your name in the chat and I'll send it to you here in a second. I didn't catch who it was that was talking. But if you'll put
Miss
it,
Turner.
Miss Turner.
You
Okay,
see it
I'll
in
be
the
glad.
chat?
There you go. I got it. I'll send it to you, Miss Turner.
Thank you. Mr. Morris, it's good to see you. Doing okay, sir?
I'm doing fine. I've been ripping and running. That's why I came in late.
That's
But
all
I'm
right.
doing well. How you doing, Miss Mason? Long time no see, no hear.
How are you? I talked
Um,
with Dr. Calhoun, I think, yesterday in the doctor's office. I had told her about sending me links to get into any meetings that y'all may be having, faculty meetings or
Okay.
grade level meetings, whatever.
Okay, we'll make sure that happen. I'll make sure that happen.
Thank you. You doing fine?
Doing well. Yes.
Yes, Miss Alexander, if you're still on, I'll send it to you as well.
Did you see my other question, Meg? I was trying to send to everybody, but I guess I just sent it to you privately about the
Maybe I was going to let Dr. Anderson, you can't see it. Here's the question, Dr. Anderson. So are the artifacts to be uploaded regardless of the route you choose, PLU or non-PLU credit?
We need one set of artifacts from each school. So I'm hoping that at least one person from Rutledge will choose to do the PLU. So so that's a really good question. If so, like, will you do the PLU, you think, or somebody else?
If we got to upload the artifacts, we might as well. That's what I'm trying to target. I'm like,
we need one set of artifacts from Rutledge.
Okay.
So somebody's gonna get a PLU as a result of that.
Okay. So it's just one, but if everybody participates, everybody gets the PLU, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. But the people who are just going on for the hours, they're just going to come to every single workshop that we do.
Okay. All righty.
But that's a good question.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The one set, though, I'm trying to make sure I'm clear. The one set that comes from the school, does that count for that one person or for the entire school for the PLU?
Well, we need each person who's going for a PLU to do a set.
Just to do a set. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm assuming there's going to be a fair amount of overlap if y'all are all working together as a PLC. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not expecting there to be a whole lot of difference, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, if you've got 5 different people in your school who are going for the PLU, I'm expecting there might be some slight differences in those 5, but they're probably going to be pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
But if there was nobody wanting to PLU at all, I still would need 1 set of artifacts from Rutledge.
Gotcha. All
That
right.
makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right, ladies.
Hi, Miss Alexander. How are you?
Hey, Miss Mason. How you? Well, I see you chilling.
I'm chill. It looks like I'm laying down, but I'm really not. I am sitting in a recliner, but
You're chilling, Miss Mason.
I'm chilling.
We're just trying to. I'm just trying to see. You know, we got a lot going on, so we got to do the work. We might as well, you know, go for the PLU.
Go for it.
Yeah. Are your kids back yet?
They come back. They come back on the staggered schedule on the 19th.
It's 3 days and 2 days, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And they have an option of staying at home.
You think many will?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we already got the survey. The survey ends today, and it's pretty much split. We've been looking at the results, so the responses. So, we just, I don't know. It's just like, oh.
It's a lot, isn't it? I know it is.
Mm-hmm. So we'll probably have half in the building. They'll come Monday and Wednesday. The other half will come Tuesday and Thursday. They'll still have that E-Day on Fridays. And then pretty much half of them will be at home on virtual.
What are y'all using for virtual?
We have, pretty much our teachers use Google Classroom.
Oh, you're going in to actually not putting them on a program or something.
Well, now it's kind of like we don't know because of the schedule and by it's being split and how we have to do. We still feeding the kids at home. So we're running the buses to the neighborhood for lunch. So, you know, it's kind of hard how we're going to do that. And with the kids in the building that's going to be here. But it's just, I don't know. We're going to figure something out.
Say, I'm relaxing. So
then we're going to start, when they come in the building, the iReady program with them. We just did the training today. So I'm really excited about that. I like that. I love that program versus what we had, which is the ALSDE program. So we'll see. All right. Meg, did you send it to me?
I'm doing it right now.
Okay. You gonna send it through email or through the chat?
Email.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was easier for me to get it, just to put it in an email and send it to myself and then send it to you because I couldn't get it over to the chat. So you should have it by now.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Y'all enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You do the same. Take care.
All right,
Good to see you, Miss Alexander. You looking wonderful.
Thank you. Y'all too.
All right. Yeah, Courtney sent it too. So we've got them for the next time too. So we're good. Thanks,
Awesome.
Courtney.
You're welcome. I went ahead and sent the next 2 sessions just so we can pop those in the chat and not have to delay them taking this survey.
Perfect. Thank you. Hey, wait a minute. Y'all got to see something. Have you gone away, Courtney?
I'm here.
Okay, y'all wait. Have you gone away? Did you get rid of it, Karen?
Get rid of what?
Wait. Oh, well, hang on a minute. Y'all appreciate this. Let me see if I can find it. Anybody want to guess who that is?
Is that going to be Carl?
Yes. He sent me a message. I figured out this Bitmoji thing.
he needs grayer hair.
Well, I'm not telling him, Courtney, that's your job.
Hey, when I was doing mine, I didn't know. I never looked how far my eyes were apart or how fat my chin was or how big my lips were.
I know.
Got to notice everything. That's pretty good, man. I like that one.
And he needs. I'm kind of with Linda though. It needs a little more gray.
Maybe.
Did you notice the one Linda I just made?
Pepper.
Yeah, salt and pepper. I just made up one for Lisa.
You what?
One for Lisa I found on the internet.
Well, that's just a placeholder till she can get hers done.
Yeah,
that was great, Meg. Thank you. So
thanks everybody.
That Miss Turner who was on, I don't know how she got on. She is from a school that's not a SIG school. It's not a CSI school. I don't know how she got the information.
I don't know how she got it, but remember we had a couple before we narrowed it down to the districts and schools that day?
Yep, she's from Glen Iris Elementary, and I just figured, well, if we'll see how long she stays. If she wants to do all the work, now I'll give it to her if she wants to do it. So we'll see if she lasts.
Was Dr. Calhoun, didn't she have to go to the heart doctor today? Or the
Stop
cardiologist?
recording if we're gonna.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.